Hello, everybody. Christian Toth here. I was inspired. I was watching a video on YouTube by Shyla, and she was talking about getting sick at the Kingdom Hall, and she uh, talked about adventures at a book study. Kid picking his nose, and it just brought back a flood of memories of the hysterical things that I've seen happen at book studies. And some of it, um, when I think about it, a lot of it was based in child abuse, so that's not funny. But at the time, being a kid, seeing some of these things go on, it was just ridiculous, and it was funny. A lot of it, you know. Um, we had well, not going right into the book study thing. I had to talk about this book study thing, but I wanted to talk about the sister that this happened to at the book study. She was a tyrant. Uh, we were in a Spanish congregation, and the child abuse was probably a little more prevalent in the Spanish congregations because of the Hispanic culture of beating the hell out of your kids. But she was, I guess, married to a white guy because her last name was Jenkins, and she had a litter of kids. I mean, they took up an entire row, the center row at the Kingdom Hall. They took up the whole thing. So it was her and probably 6 or 7 kids, and they ranged in age from about 10 years old, which was about my age, down to little babies. And I mean, she had those kids, they were always misbehaving. And she, at one point, I guess, just decided not to be dragging them to the bathroom or outside to knock the hell out of them. She was just going to discipline them there and during the middle of the meeting. And she took out a skinny belt. Now, anybody that's been hit by a belt knows that if you're hit with a thin, little skinny belt, it hurts more. And I mean, what was typical in that congregation was the kid would misbehave, and the parent, most of the time it was the dad, would go with the second or third time. The dad would get up and drag their ass outside and beat them up. And they usually pulled off their belt and they made them do that little, squealing kid dance. And this particular Kingdom Hall had vertical windows. They were probably a foot wide, and they ran from nearly the floor up to nearly the ceiling. So they were probably 6 or 7 foot long windows, and they were opaque and they were kind of amber colored, and you could see shapes through them. And they would invariably run the kids out there by the side of the Kingdom Hall, and you could see the shape of the parent beating the hell out of the kid. And as a little kid, it was kind of funny, to say, ha ha, you got busted and, whatever. But Sister Jenkins was tired of doing that, I guess. And so she would just whip them during the middle of the Sunday talk, during the middle of the Watchtower study, during the middle of whatever meeting. She would just stretch out that belt and whack them across the face or across their front of their body or across the top of their legs while they were sitting there. And one time, one of the kids was turning around and making me laugh, and he was lifting his middle finger and laughing and just doing all kinds of funny stuff. And so I started laughing, and she saw him in the middle of this, and she stretched out that belt and she whacked him, and it wrapped around his face, and she hit him there, and he went, "Ow, F!" you know. And so I started laughing more, and Sister Jenkins folded up that belt into a little loop, and she looked at me and she shook it at me, and I'm like, "Oops," and I quit laughing. Okay, so this is the type of sister that she was. Um, they had the book study at her house, and it wasn't even really a house. It was a small apartment, probably a 2 bedroom apartment for her and all her kids. So it was very cramped to start with. And when you have, a dozen people coming into your house to do the book study, it was cramped in that tiny little living room. And they had a German Shepherd in this tiny little apartment. They had a full-grown German Shepherd as a pet. And I mean, this was just instead of tying the dog outside, she had him chained inside the kitchen, like around the table leg or something. She had a chain around him and around his neck, and then the table leg. Well, one of her kids, I guess she was about 4 or 5 years old, maybe. She was running around and carrying on and just acting up, making all kinds of racket and going around flipping people's pages on their books and just being a ridiculously funny little kid. And she whacked her a couple of times and she didn't stop. And so here was her response. She grabbed the girl, sat her in a chair, unchained the dog, and she chained the little girl to the chair so she wouldn't run around doing the things had been doing. And the little girl was crying, and everybody was appalled that she chained this little girl to the chair. Well, the brother didn't say anything about it. He didn't do anything about it. He just continued with the study because that's the priority. You can't, I mean, I got the impression when I was growing up that if somebody rolled a hand grenade into the Kingdom Hall, it was my responsibility or anybody's responsibility to land face first on that thing and protect everybody from being killed by it so that the meeting wouldn't be interrupted. That's the degree that congregation went to say, you know, nothing comes before the meetings. Even if it's going to kill you, you are going to, do what it takes to get the meeting done. And so the brother didn't do anything as long as he was able to continue his little book study. Well, then the dog was now loose, and the dog was running around, licking everybody, smelling everybody's crotch, and he even started humping guys' legs. Everybody's legs that were extended out. The dog gave a little hump to everybody. It was, and the thing just continued that way. She didn't. She tried to lock the dog in the bedroom, and I guess she locked him in the bathroom because one of the kids went to the bathroom and the dog got out, and the dog started doing it all over again. So yeah, that's my little contribution to Watchtower book study time. My wife told me a story when she was about 13. She went to a book study at a sister's house. Now, her husband was not a witness, and he was a drunk. And she said that they were all sitting around, doing the book study, and the husband came home from work, I guess, and had gone to take a nap. He had been drinking, and he went and took a nap, and then everybody came into his house. And he got up horny, and he was looking for his wife, and he was calling for her in Spanish. And he was just walking around. He came out with a t-shirt on and nothing else, just a t-shirt. And here he is staggering around with this erect penis, looking for his wife, saying, "Where's that big-bottomed woman of mine?" And his penis was drooling that clear fluid that comes out. And he was saying, "Look, it's drooling, it's drooling. It's ready, baby." And he grabs her and drags her to the bedroom, and you can hear them engaged in his amorous feelings there. And the book study just continued for a while until people just started to get up and leave on their own. The book study conductor didn't say, "Well, we should leave," or anything. No, people, out of a sense of decency, just got up and left, and the book study conductor eventually had to uh, give in to that. But yeah, just a couple of little stories about the book study. Hope y'all have a good day. Take care.